Welcome to In and Out of Character. This is a podcast about role-playing. Just a conversation between two players about their characters and about the way that they feel about role-playing. That's all there is. Some caution is advised, as some of these topics may not be suitable for everybody. Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, man. How you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm tired. I actually woke up from a nap. So I am ready to go. Just introduce yourself and tell me and everybody else listening what got you into role playing. Like, how'd you start and what got you into it?
Well, most of you are going to know me as Varainne from
Mm-hmm.
the Elder Scrolls Online with the Divine Conclave.
Mm-hmm.
What really kind of boosted me into trying out role playing is growing up. I played all the Elder Scrolls from Morrowind up to Skyrim, and in
Mm-hmm.
all of those, I'd always made little mini stories behind my characters. Even if if they never got shared or if no one else ever saw them, those characters always had a story behind them to me. And
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't really considered doing other forms of role play because growing up, we weren't allowed to play online games. And so I was never exposed to those forms of online role play.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got the Elder Scrolls Online on my laptop, and I was just playing along. And through just pure luck, I met one of Divine Conclave's recruiters in the beginning area, like five
Mm-hmm.
minutes after I started the game.
Right.
And they were putting out invites for the Divine Conclave, and normally I was like, you know what, let's try this. You know what, we're gonna dive on into this and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, I absolutely love it. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of taken over my life just a little bit sometimes.
So how long have you been role playing? So you made a character and just immediately started. So have you been role playing for as long as I've known you? Like is that when you started?
Mhm.
Wow.
I had some brief experience with other role plays growing up. Like my family, my aunt, my mom, and them played D&D, but they
Mm-hmm.
played like once a year for like 2 years, and so it was very quick, very brief, and never really played it again. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't until I joined the Divine Conclave, right after I made Varainne, that I actually started doing an online role play. So about,
Wow.
geez, how long have I been with y'all?
Wow. So
I was with
just a couple of months.
I was with y'all for longer, but then my computer broke.
Oh, that's right. I remember
So
this now. You were
I was
there
yeah, I was there before Callie was in Sacred Band,
mm-hmm.
and then my computer broke, and for like 8 months I wasn't around,
Oh, right. Yep, I remember.
and then I just kind of like finally managed to fix my computer, and I popped back in. So about 4 months, 5 months now.
Mm-hmm. And a lot happened in that brief period of time. Um, so let me ask you this though: why weren't you allowed to have like online stuff when you were younger?
Growing up, we grew up in a bit of a conservative household, so
Mm-hmm.
video games were heavily frowned upon. Um,
Mm-hmm.
uh, we weren't even allowed to play video games except on the weekends. When you got home from school on Friday until Sunday night, that was the time, so we had to be able to play video games. And even then, it was discouraged. I think discouraged is the wrong word, but other things were encouraged over it. So,
Right.
like, going outside was a big thing. Go outside,
Mm-hmm.
play, run through the woods, do something other than sit inside and play video games. Because both my parents grew up in poor households. They didn't have phones. They didn't have video games, and so they just kind of didn't really like them very much. Now, as the years have gone by, they've kind of mellowed out with it.
Mm-hmm.
But growing up, they we didn't really use the internet very much. We used it for school, but other than that, they wanted us to stay off of websites because they were worried about online interactions with people we didn't know. and stuff like that. So really, the only online stuff we got to do was like Call of Duty.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever we could sneak in some Call of Duty on the Wii,
Mm-hmm.
but other than that, we just weren't really allowed to interact on the web very much, just because it was still kind of new to them, and so it kind of worried them about interacting with these people we've never met. We can't see them. We don't know anything about them, and so for a long time, we didn't really ever do stuff like that.
Oh, interesting. And so, like, what are like that's it's so okay. So I'm not gonna say that's weird because that is something I've definitely seen people grow up with. But like, what happened? Like, what happened to cause you to say I want to role play? Because when I was younger, I wasn't like video games weren't kept away from me. But I did have to sneak them every now and again. But like I grew up playing Final Fantasy, which is like a role playing games. I grew up playing all these different RPGs, and eventually what happened is I wanted to tell my own story and with other people, and that's how I got into role playing, with D&D and such and such. But like you yourself, you've had very little of that to yourself. Like what got you from point A of not having much in the video game life to where you are now?
Well, well, I was born with ADHD, pretty bad ADHD,
Right.
and
Do you have to take any medicine for it?
I do not. I stopped taking medicine about around middle school.
I did too, and feel free to stop me here. The reason being is because my medicine would make me so mellowed out that I couldn't talk to anybody.
Mm.
Um, like I had a hard time speaking to people. People thought I was on drugs. I had a hard time communicating. It was a horrible experience. Yeah, my medication just did not work for me.
I forgot what happened with me. It was such a I never really paid attention to my medicine then. Half the time I would try not to take it. I'd slip it under the couch cushion or something. It never
Hmm.
worked because my mom is sharp as a tack. She she once saw me in the back seat, shove it under the seat while she was driving. I don't know how, but she did. But yeah, when about middle school age, they just took me off of it. I never really questioned it. But when I was going through school, I would read obsessively.
Oh
I was
yeah.
reading hundreds of pages a day, and
Hmm.
it was noticing in class. The teachers were beginning to notice because I was not paying attention to class. I was reading, and I love to read fantasy books in particular.
Hmm.
And if so, they started taking my books from me. I was walking to the class, and it was an automatic procedure. Colby, you go and put your books up on the whiteboard. You don't get them to the end of class.
Right.
And so, as almost like I guess a coping mechanism, I started to form my own stories in my head.
Hmm.
I'd sit there and I'd daydream and I'd form these stories, kind of pulling inspiration from the characters from my books. And then when I was playing the Elder Scrolls, I started doing it with those characters. I would start forming stories with them. I would start acting in character with them, even though at that
Hmm.
time I didn't really know that that was role playing.
Hmm.
And and then I was sitting there. I had just bought the Elder Scrolls, and I was looking around at all these people, and I thought to myself, I've always wanted to try this. I've always wanted to try and see what it would be like to be able to share a story with other people, and people would join in on it, and
Right.
it would just compound on itself and go somewhere completely unexpected. Because when you're making one for yourself, you kind of know what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen in your head. But when you're doing stuff
Hmm.
with other people, God knows where it's going to go, and that's one of the beautiful things about it.
Hmm.
You never know what's going to happen. And so I accepted that invite to the DC, and the rest is history. I've been having a blast with it.
That's awesome. And I shit you not, excuse my language. I kid you not. I was grounded from books because I used to read too much. I thought reading was so much better than anything else. I used to read Goosebumps. I got to the point as a child, um, where I could read like a Goosebump book a day.
Hmm.
I would pick up a new book from the library, and then I would it was like either Animorphs or Goosebumps. Those were my things as a youngin. and
One of
I
my
would take it
best
home.
ones.
What was that?
Well, I was saying one of the series that I read the most growing up was Ranger's Apprentice.
Rangers of what?
Ranger's Apprentice.
Rangers Apprentice? I don't know. I don't think I know what that is.
It was a pretty good one. It had a lot of books and it stretched out for most of my childhood.
I would pick one of those up. I'd get home and I'd read them, and then I'd have it finished before the day is over. Um, or before I'd have to return the next day. And it got so bad that I didn't want to focus on my schoolwork, or I didn't want to go out and do the sports that my parents wanted me to do, and so on. So no, I can completely understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, it happened with me. I'd get books from the library. I'd read them throughout school. I'd come home and I would read them at night. Even I'd turn on the hallway light in our house, and I would kind of sit at the edge of the bed where the hallway light could stream into the through the bedroom door and illuminate the book. And I thought I was the smartest kid on earth for doing that, even though, growing up, mom and dad were like, we knew the whole time because there's no way
Yeah.
the hallway light just magically turns on every night after we go to bed and your door's
Hmm.
open and we walk in and you look too peaceful asleep on your bed and we turn off the light and go back to bed and it's somehow turned back on tomorrow morning.
Mm,
I thought I
yeah.
was slick, but I really wasn't.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Parents will do that. My own son does stuff, and he's not even. He just turned 3, and he does stuff, and I can catch him. But he's 3, so it's not difficult yet. Anyways. So, what is your? How have you enjoyed role playing so far? It's like since this is your first character.
It's really been a blast. I was super nervous coming in. I've got, I guess you could say, performer's anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, Growing up, like I could never. It took everything I had to have to stand up and give a PowerPoint or presentation at school or whatever. And the whole time I'm, having a little panic attack inside of me that my work is terrible and I'm going to completely fail this. And it kind of transferred over to the role play because I was sitting there thinking, man, I've never done this. This is going to be so hard. They're not going to like my character. They're not going to like how I role play with them. And
Mm-hmm.
I kind of started easing into it. You were a big help with that, kind of
Oh.
helping to teach me the kind of the subtleties of role playing with other people.
Mm-hmm.
Listening to the podcast helped as well because I could hear how other people started and how they've kind of done their characters.
Mm-hmm.
And slowly I've kind of eased into it. And now it's absolutely amazing. I look forward to coming home, being able to get on with
Mm-hmm.
Varainne and interact with all our friends in the DC, people like Callie and Webb. You
Mm-hmm.
got Poppy, the Tarbe,
Oh yeah.
Shavandi, Mai. There's so many of them.
Mm-hmm. And Maya's a new little reason to our little group too. She's been a pleasure to role play with so far.
She
Um,
really has.
and you're doing wonderful. I don't know if you've been told this yet, but you are actually doing very, very well. Um, I can honestly say that as you get further into this, the anxiety doesn't quite go away. Like it gets less, but um, it doesn't always go away because even now I sometimes will like when Callie starts taking up positions of leadership, or any of my characters does, I always have this tinge in the back of my head going, am I about to mess things up? Am I about to screw something up? I feel like I'm about to screw something up.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Constantly. I can't tell you how much I've been slaving over her Paladin quest,
Hmm.
trying to make sure that's going to be just right,
Hmm.
so that everybody can enjoy it. I don't screw it up.
No, everybody will enjoy it, I guarantee it. You have a lot of people in the guild who like you, and Varainne. Have you had any difficulties role playing so far?
Not really. Like it was pretty easy for me personally to kind of ease into it and figure it out. It took a little bit of time figuring out how DC itself works,
Hmm.
but figuring out the role playing because I'd already had a story for Vera before I joined the DC. Because just like Morrowind and Oblivion and Skyrim, I made her a little backstory for myself,
Hmm.
and and the DC just kind of required me to put it into more detail and kind of put it into writing. And it took some time trying to figure out like how to talk to people, how to interact as a character with other characters, and but once I figured that out. It's actually been a pretty smooth ride, which I've been really really happy about. I was real worried when I first started that it was just going to be hurdle after hurdle of me trying to figure things out. But it's
Mm-hmm.
been pretty nice so far. And the DC and the core guild has just been absolutely amazing in helping me to do that.
Oh yeah, you'll find a lot of people who were pretty much just in the same situation you were. When I first started role playing, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I didn't know. Comparatively, you guys are just you're doing wonderful for real.
Well, thank you, man. That really does mean a lot.
Yeah. Is there like when you were sitting down and making your character and stuff like that? Like, was there anything that you were thinking of in particular when it came to role play? Like, were you wanting to go one direction or another, or were you just jumping into it and saying, "Well, we're gonna make it happen one way or another"?
Yeah, yeah. The last bit, I just it was one of those things I didn't really have time to think about it. I just started Vera's character, and I only intended for her to be to play the game. I hadn't
Hmm.
considered role play in the slightest. And then the invite came through, and I was like, you know what, Colby, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna make this work, no matter what's about to come through. We're gonna see how this goes. And I hit accept,
Hmm.
and so there wasn't really much prior planning to me kind of leaping into it. I've barely done any gaming of the actual in-game content. I just went straight into the role play after I started, or which was not what I was expecting.
What were you not? Wait, what were you not expecting? I'm sorry.
I wasn't expecting to leap right into the role play when I made Vern.
Oh
I made her to
yeah.
be that play the game content character,
Hmm.
and it went the complete opposite way. She's only like level 26, and I've got like over 100 hours in the game, and it's all been role play instead of game content.
Oh, you're gonna have that happen to you so bad. So you know how like I need to be doing content, right? And it's content not for just myself, it's but content for the guild, right?
Yeah,
For the core role players guild. Like I need to be recording scenery, I need to be doing voice acting for the books, I need to be getting like all this stuff done to lead up to it. And sometimes it's so difficult because I'm like, I'll be working, and then like 3 hours into it, I still have like more things that I need to do. I'll get the message of, hey, do you want to role play? And I'm like, oh no, no, please don't. I have work to do,
I
and
can't resist.
it's so difficult because I love role playing so much. And that happens to me all the time. Like, I've been playing Elder Scrolls since it launched. I was one of the I jumped on it as soon as I was able to. It was like one of the first games I ever got into, like a day of launch. And I have friends still in my game who have not logged on since the beginning. Um, I have never beaten the game, or I can't say beaten the game. I haven't gotten to the end content ever in any MMO because I have always been role playing way too much. Like in World of Warcraft, I got to the end content back during I think it was Burning Crusade. Like I was doing raids and stuff like that. Like between Vanilla WoW and Burning Crusade WoW, I got to the point where I was doing in-game raids with everybody. But eventually, it just became role playing, and it's like I've never been able to keep up or get to the end ever since because I'm always just like I said, role playing.
I mean, that's how it's going with Vera. I'll get on and I'll tell myself, all right, you're gonna go mining, you're gonna do crafting, you're gonna up your crafting skills so you can unlock the outfit so you can really design Vera how you want to make her. And then I'll get a whisper from someone, hey, you wanna do some role play at the cave, or you wanna meet up here? And it's just kind of like, well, there goes my evening. There we go.
Oh no. Oh, I'm so sorry. And I made you a room in that cave too, so you have a place to role play.
Oh yeah. What's funny is that Vera actually has like done almost no role play in her room itself.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's
Like most
difficult because it's all a big open space.
hmm most of it, whenever so people don't visit her a lot there, but people like Webb, couple last I think it was last week, had a really good casual role play with Webb. He came by the cave after a DC event, and Vera spends most of her time down by the waterfall actually. Because
Mm-hmm.
in between events, I'll kind of like I don't want to get offline, but I want to stay in the cave in case someone wants to do a casual role play. So I'll take her down to the waterfall and I'll make her sit down there and she'll pray or she'll just think or she'll just be enjoying the waterfall.
Mm-hmm.
And Webb came in and we had a really good RP together. What did we talk
That's
about?
cool.
Oh, I'm trying to remember. I think we talked about. I think he asked Vera what she would want in a home, and that led more into also to the discussion of children,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a really good one.
Well, let me ask you a couple of questions about like since you're so new, because I don't get to ask this question very often because normally I get to ask people why or how you got into role playing, but I don't get to ask people like what their experience has been so far. So like have I asked if you've had any bad experiences so far?
Um, oh god, ADHD brain.
Mine too.
I think you mentioned like a similar question, like if
Mm-hmm.
I'd had any problems like getting into it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think you asked if I'd had any bad role play itself.
Experience, yeah, bad role playing experiences, because like it's so like when you're first starting off you can get really like jarred, as it were, by the certain mm, what is it, how do I want to say this, well, certain, okay, so certain communities work differently. So like when you go into one community it might be really jarring, and I just wondered if you have had any experiences like that so far.
Not for the most part, because almost I haven't really done any like public RP
Mm-hmm.
within the game. Pretty
Mm-hmm.
much all of the RP I've done with Vara has been with the DC and its members,
Right.
and almost everyone there is pretty good at what they do, and they're fun to be around. And
Mm-hmm.
so even if I've never met that a member of the DC before, even if we're meeting for the first time in role play, it's pretty much never a bad experience. And
Right.
I've heard of some people who've had bad experiences, like when they're trying to role play in a tavern or whatever, and they'll have weirdos or perverts come up trying to hit their characters or something. But
Mm-hmm.
I've kind of avoided that because pretty much all of my time with the role play is spent with the DC members. And Vera goes to as many of the events as she can. I try to take her to every paths that comes along because she absolutely loves going to watch it and participate.
Okay, so I got another question for you. Let's just talk about that. So, have you seen other people like before you jumped into role playing? Have you seen other people role play?
Yeah, at school,
Mm-hmm.
I heard some people kind of talk about it. Um, uh, they would talk about something they'd done some role play with some friends online, or they play Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that. And I'd seen it on YouTube as well. I'd seen
Mm-hmm.
some YouTubers, they would be playing something like World of Warcraft or The Elder Scrolls Online or something like that, and they'd be doing the role play with their guilds. That's kind of how I learned about it, was just through hearing these things from other people. And that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of what made me think about it when I got that invite from the DC. I was kind of like, I've heard about this, and I've heard a lot of people say that it can be really fun.
Mm-hmm.
And, so yeah, I had heard about it quite a bit actually before I jumped into it from outside sources.
Is there like how do I ask this question? Because this is definitely a weird question to ask. How long do you think you're going to have Varainne as a
That
character?
is
Yeah,
that's a
because like not everything. Unfortunately, like the biggest thing about role playing is that not it doesn't last forever. Um, and unfortunately, like there are times in your life where you're just gonna have to step away, and it happens suddenly for many people.
if I have the choice with Vera, it'll probably honestly just become the time when maybe I don't find her character interesting anymore,
Mm-hmm.
or I've played her for maybe I've gotten to the point where I've played her for so long and for so much that I'm looking for something new, looking for something more exciting. I'll probably do another character. I'm hoping that I won't have to abandon Vera and the RP anytime soon. I had that little stint when I was moving into a new trailer. I didn't have Wi-Fi. That alone was damn torture.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be sitting in the trailer trying to clean stuff up, and my fingers are just itching to get back on and start role playing with everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. So like after Varainne, like what's next? Like are you gonna stay with Elder Scrolls or because I have times where I'm just like I want to I want to role play in so many different types of genres. Like I want to do a deep space sci-fi game, or I want to do a super fantasy game, or I want to do a high fantasy game. Like after, so basically, what I'm asking is, after Elder Scrolls, like what would you go to after this?
If I ever left Elder Scrolls, I kind of off the top of my head, I think I will go to the Star Wars, the Old Republic.
Mm-hmm.
I hear with probably with this probably still with SOCAN. Um, uh, but I'm not someone who can easily do like multiple role plays at once or keep up with
Mm-hmm.
multiple characters. I don't know if it's like my ADHD brain or something, but like I prefer to focus on one thing at a time. So
Mm-hmm.
one character Vera with one group, which is the DC.
Right.
And but if that ever were ever to end, if I were to grow bored of the DC or just want to branch out, just kind of thinking about it, I'd probably go over to Star Wars just because I'm a giant Star Wars nerd, and I'm a particular fan of the Sith characters personally,
Mm-hmm.
which is funny because Vera is the exact opposite of a Sith. She's a sweetheart.
Yeah. Well, one thing I've learned is that just because you're a Sith doesn't mean like you're an evil scumbag, and just because you're a Jedi doesn't mean that you're a good guy. I have done role playing in these. I almost said sort of online. Star Wars: The Old Republic. Um, and you'll find all sorts of different characters on both sides. Um, I do miss it sometimes, but it's difficult to maintain a presence across multiple games.
Yeah, that's one of the things I'm trying to avoid is spreading myself so thin over multiple platforms
Mm-hmm.
that I burn myself out or grow bored with RP in general.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been kind of keeping it concise with the one guild and one game at a time. And plus, my computer plays a bit of a part in it because it's doesn't have a lot of storage, so can only have so many games at once.
Mm-hmm.
And things like Elder Scrolls and them take up so much space that I don't have a lot of room for the games on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's important not to get yourself burnt out because even though you like coming online or you like coming online and role playing, you can definitely burn yourself out. Or you can, the worst thing you can do is start neglecting your real life over your character and stuff like that. Because like once you start neglecting reality to play this other person, you're gonna find yourself where you're not gonna be able to actually play this other person because your real life needs tending to.
hmm There's been a couple times where I've had to kind of tell myself, go get away from the computer. You've got
Hmm.
dishes to do. You've got to go run these errands or stuff like that. And I've had to fight with myself in my head to get away from this because it's an amazing escape and it's so much fun that sometimes you get drawn into it and you don't
Hmm.
really don't want to leave it.
Hmm.
But I've had to pull myself away once or twice, and there's been a day or two where I've just not wanted to get on and role play,
Hmm.
and I'll not even when I know some of my friends are online or they're having a great time. There will just be days where I'm just not in the mood or I'm tired or whatever, and I feel like I'm not going to be able to really play Vera as she deserves to be played and as she should be played, and
Hmm.
that my mood will seep into my character and appear in the role play and kind of taint her character in that moment.
Right.
And so I try to kind of stay away from doing that. But past that, it's been a lot of fun, and I haven't had too much trouble with maintaining that balance between real life and the game.
Uh huh. Have you had a um let's see here. Have you had a good time building bonds with the other players so far?
Oh, it's been so amazing getting to have friendships with these other people. Because I tend to be a friendly guy. I'm a bit
Mm-hmm.
reserved though. I growing up, I wouldn't really talk to people unless I was talked to first, in which case you couldn't shut me up.
Right.
Once I got to know you and I considered you my friend, a lot
Mm-hmm.
like Vara, I like to be with you. I like to be by this person, even if I'm not always talking. Just being near that person has always kind of shown for me that I like to be near
Right.
you, even if I'm not talking.
Mm-hmm.
And so getting to form these friendships with people that I've never met. I've never met these people in real life. I can't see them. I can't don't truly know them in person, but nonetheless, I am forming some amazing friendships, better and more friendships than I had with real people growing up. Honestly, I've gotten more friends in the few months I've had role playing than I had pretty much going through all my years of school. Because for some reason, those people in real life they just didn't vibe with me. But all the people I've been meeting here on the DC and the core role players guild and them
Mm-hmm.
been have some of the best friendships that I've had in my life.
Oh, that's sweet. That's really cool. It's it's difficult because you're like you have much more how do I put this? When you are in the real world, you don't have a screen to protect you from everybody else. And I think this is another reason why I like MMO role playing more than I like tabletop role playing is because like whenever I'm role playing with other people with a character online through a character through the computer, no one can see the mess that I actually am. So I have a little bit more confidence to my name when it comes to role playing in like tabletops and stuff like that. I am not nearly as vocal as I am, just because I unless I know the people, because I'm just worry I'll say too much or act too extra. You know what I mean?
I understand so much. There's so often where I'll be somewhere and I'll finally kind of break out of that silent mode and I'll start to talk and I'll talk and I'll just keep blabbering away like a doofus,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll clam back up because I feel like, man, I have now alienated these people from me because I have talked so much and too much, and I was too exuberant about all
Mm-hmm.
these random things that now they're going to hate me. They're not going to want to talk to me. And so then I'll go right back into being quiet,
Right.
and
Yeah.
it's easier to handle through the screen because I can sit there and I can think about what I'm about to say for a minute or two before I respond to somebody, and you don't get that luxury when you're face to face with somebody.
Mm-hmm. No,
And
I
it's
get
it's.
it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just saying that that's always been a big help is being able to sit there and think about what someone on the screen has said, and I'm able to kind of think to myself about it and kind of think it through, and I have time to do that before I respond instead of
Mm-hmm.
having to do that in person response on the spot where most of my embarrassing moments come from.
Yep. Oh gosh. Yep.
I was the embarrassing child growing up. I did some of the craziest crap.
No, I get it. I
Oh
was
God, what's my mama's favorite story of me is
mm-hmm.
when I was also brutally honest was the bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is I was flicking peas in school once using the plastic spoons. I was flicking peas at my friends. And I went to the office and they're getting on to me and I'm crying and they're like, would you do that to your house? And according to my mom, I looked at the principal and said, our forks are metal, they don't bend.
Oh hey,
It
who
was
can stop you, right? I I've always loved the idea of living another character, even as a child. I would when I was laying down in my bed, because my mind is what it is. Um I would I instead of falling asleep, I would do one of two things. I would either turn on my light, not my light, but like my nightlight, because I had a nightlight when I was a child, and it was right next to the bed because I was deathly afraid of the dark as a kid.
Yeah, me too.
So so I would have a nightlight right beside my bed, right behind my pillow, which is not a good place, by the way. Um, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But I would use that light to play my Pokemon game. And if I couldn't sneak with that, if I couldn't do that, then I would sit there and just make up stories in my head about these characters, or like my own character in Final Fantasy, or my own character in Pokemon and stuff like that. And I would have these little stories in my head about it. So I've always been really, really into role playing, just because that's how my mind works and that's how I pass the time. And as I got older, it just became a source of comfort. Uh, like someone writing fan fiction. Don't at me. It's a fun thing to do. You can do it too. The reason why, um, the reason why having a nightlight right beside your bed, especially where
I
your
want to
pillow
hear
is,
that.
it's. I woke up one morning and my pillow was smoking. Luckily there was no fire. Um, but I so there was no fire. But the what had happened, and in my sleep, I had pushed my pillow onto the nightlight, and there was no covering for it or anything like that. And I remember waking up and like the wall was sparking, and my pillow underneath my head was like smoking, and I pulled it away really quickly. And after that, I just went back to sleep because I didn't think anything of it. The next day,
Oh no.
the next day, I looked at my pillow, and the inside of my pillow had all, like, right where it was at, had all burnt up. Um, the glass, it had cracked the glass, and the inside of the nightlight was just like frying my pillow.
Oh
Uh,
no.
yeah. Uh, and here's how stupid I was as a kid. Um, I thought I was gonna get in trouble for that, so I hid it, and
Did
my parents
There you
never
go.
found out.
Oh man, me and my brothers would hide stuff. Oh, I
Mm-hmm.
remember we sprayed the sconce light right outside the front door with a water gun once, and it cracked
Oh.
and exploded. And
Mm.
10 years later, Mama finally figured out from my older brother. We were the ones who did that. We kept it a secret for so long until
Oh.
we were old enough she couldn't get on to us.
Yeah. No, I get that because like now I'll tell my parents things, or I'm just like, I don't care if you know now. What are you gonna do? Ground me? I
My
don't
mama likes
know.
to say, she'd be like, that was the hardest thing with you, Colby, growing up, is that if you did something wrong or stupid, we couldn't punish you. If we said we're taking away your books or whatever, you just go, okay. And you would go on with your life like it didn't matter. You know how hard it is to punish a kid who doesn't care about punishments?
Yeah, yeah. I'm actually starting to worry about that with my own kid because my own kid is just like, all right,
Do your worst.
do your worst, Dad. And he's 3. So actually, back onto the topic of role playing. When you were making your character Varainne, like, so you at the time you didn't know that you're going to get into role playing.
Hmm.
So after you joined DC, like how did you go coming up with your character's backstory and stuff like that? Because I know you played Elder Scrolls like that, but you joined a very lore heavy role players guild. So how did you go about navigating that?
It actually came from when I first made her. I made a small backstory for her, and you
Hmm.
can kind of see it in her BC backstory. She's a Breton. She lived in her original that on my head. She lived in the woods because I chose the warden as her class, which is kind of like the trying to think of a word to say it, like the nature warrior, I'll call it, class. So, she grew up in the woods and she chose to become a warden. That's why she has these magical abilities with the forest and all that. And
Mm-hmm.
then when I joined the DC and I realized that they were asking to put down a much more detailed a backstory, I actually pulled on my girlfriend. She
Mm-hmm.
writes fan fictions, and we'll kind of like write stories between each other.
Mm-hmm.
She'll send a part of a story, and I'll add to it, and we'll go
Mm-hmm.
back and forth. And so
Mm-hmm.
I pulled from her characters, or the characters that she wrote into her stories, and I kind of combined multiple parts of them into them, such
Mm-hmm.
as the red hair. The red hair, a lot of her characters that she plays in video games, she likes to put them with red hair, and
Mm-hmm.
so I put Vara with red hair. When it came to her backstory, honestly, I kind of winged it.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about it, and I took that original backstory of growing up in the woods, and I was thinking, how am I going to make her? What's her personality going to be like? And
Mm-hmm.
I went through it in my head between she could be joyful or serious, and I kind of settled on that kind of mix where she can be so serious and so pensive almost, but on another at the flip of a coin, she can be so happy and she can be so joyful.
Mm-hmm.
And to play on that, I made it where she grew up in the woods, far away from other people, so
Mm-hmm.
that she would have that kind of that social anxiety that keeps her quiet. And unless she's around people that she trusts, such as Callie.
Right.
And and oh, where was I? Okay, 1 minute. Rabbit hole. What's that? Oh God.
Oh, is everything okay?
Yeah, yeah, rabbit hole in my brain. I completely lost track of what I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Let me
No,
get
you're
back
good.
on.
You're good. You're talking about your character and like
Yeah,
their backstory and like that.
that's it. Thank you. Oh, that's bad. But after I decided that she was going to grow up far away and lonely from all these other people, I
Mm-hmm.
decided I need to figure out what's going to bring her to DC. Why would she leave her life back out there in the wilds to
Mm-hmm.
join this large group of people, this militant and religious order? And so I settled on the fact that her life had almost been ended. That she works alone,
Mm-hmm.
and been doing so, she almost died. She was left to bleed out on the ground by Jamora, and
Mm-hmm.
that scared her so badly. And the fact that she was not able to be the one that could help these people, she realized that she couldn't do this alone anymore. She couldn't face these things just by herself because they are vastly more powerful than her.
Mm-hmm.
And so she vowed to find people who could help her to help others, and she found that in the Divine Conclave. Which is also why she's gunning so hard to become part of the Sacred Band when she becomes a paladin.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Vera, if she can prevent someone from going through what she did, bleeding out there on the ground with no one there to help her, no one to say goodbye to, in
Mm-hmm.
pain and in fear, she would do anything to prevent anyone in the Divine Conclave from having to experience that.
Right.
And she sees the Sacred Band as one of the best ways to accomplish that goal. And so that was kind of the rabbit hole I went down when I was making her character, and I would run ideas by Roderick, my mentor, and kind
Mm-hmm.
of get his opinions on things.
Good old
And
Roderick.
good old Roderick, I love that man.
Mm-hmm.
He's such a nice guy. But and even like with her Paladin quest, tying some of her backstory into the Paladin quest to try and make it more personal for her, and to try and kind of develop her emotionally. Because so far I've kind of written her as being a kind of naive at times. She's smart, she's intelligent, but she's new to the world and its experiences outside of the woods.
Mm-hmm.
And so she can be naive to all these things that she's experiencing with the Divine Conclave, such as all the bad jokes y'all would play on her when she first came. Oh my god, that was amazing. She would get so embarrassed so easily.
There was that one time she got put in what was it? A dress. Was she in a dress? Was she
Yeah,
put in
goddamn Zakarian decided to put Vera in a dress as one of her illusions.
Yeah, Grom's character, yeah.
Yeah,
uh,
his secondary.
what what fun times that was.
That really was a lot of fun, especially because
Mm,
she was just starting with the role play at that point.
mm-hmm.
And it was actually that was another thing that I kind of winged with it is when he decided to put the dress on her. I was kind of like in that moment, the idea struck me that I should make it where she hates dresses because
Mm-hmm.
she grew up, having to scrounge for food, having to hunt, she had a very serious childhood, and so she would didn't dress like the other girls and the villages that she would meet, and because of that, she was shunned by many of them.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone kind of started to. She was so serious at times that the other kids would get scared of her, and so she kind of never really got into wearing dresses. She it kind of frightened her,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's when she adopted wearing things like tunics and traveling cloaks, and later on, after she was almost killed, constantly wearing her armor. Excuse me. So when Zakarian decided to throw a dress on her, that's why she got so mad at him. About I remember I think I about made her punch him. He threw up his hands and made the illusion go away real quick. And then didn't he bowl her over with a gigantic orc?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, he bowled her over with a huge orc after making her almost fall asleep with a magical rabbit.
Enjoy.
Which out of context sounds completely insane.
I mean, a lot of the stuff. Okay, so a lot of the stuff that we do in Elder Scrolls Online is pretty insane. I'm not gonna lie. Like, there's no real way around it. A lot of our characters are freaking crazy. Callie herself is just nuts. Um,
Ellie is rambunctious.
mhm.
He's insane. She also loves to kick Bear in the chest.
She likes to kick a lot of people in the chest. And it's not my fault. Okay, so actually, depending on, I don't know if you've caught on to this yet, but depending on like what she has to do, or who she has to fight, she changes up her fighting style. When she's fighting the rogues, she uses mostly her feet to fight. When she's fighting the warriors, she uses her sword and shield. But when she's fighting the mages, that's the reason why she has those summon weapons, is so that she can kind of fight with the mages on an equal ground. So I don't know if you've caught that, but that's what she does.
I hadn't. Well, I haven't really had the chance to see her fight with many of the warriors until recently. I think I saw her in like a 3v3, like yeah, Jesus, 3 versus 3.
Mm-hmm.
And in that time, I remember she used her sword and her shield, which was unusual for her. Because
Mm-hmm.
normally when I fought her so far, she'd always use hand to hand combat and feet. But that was one of the only times that I got to see Callie fight against people outside of the rogues. Because since
Right.
then, I've mostly been seeing her spectate.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't got to
So
see her fight as much.
yeah, yeah, and you've been busy with the trailer, so you haven't just been around them for a lot. And that's fine. So, is there anything that you wish you would have like known when you first started role playing? Like, if you could go back and tell yourself ahead of time to look out for something, like, is there anything that you would do?
That's a damn good question. Let me muddle on that one for a second.
Yeah, you go right ahead. I'm just gonna sip my delicious cucumber water.
Ooh, cucumber water sounds refreshing. That is some high quality H2O. Hmm. If I could, thinking about it, if I could go back and tell myself, pretty much anything about it, I'd probably tell myself not to be so worried about it. Sure, it's scary. It's
Mm-hmm.
quite very frightening at times to get into a group like that and to just come up with a story and you're kind of winging stuff on the spot, coming up with ideas.
Mm-hmm.
and you're worried that you're not going to like your idea, it's not going to go over well, or they're not going to like your character, or they're not going to like you personally.
Mm-hmm.
That's what was one of the reasons when I first joined DC, I talked so little about myself,
Mm-hmm.
is because I was worried people wouldn't like me as well as
Mm-hmm.
my character.
Right.
And so I think I tell myself to not worry about it so much because, truth be told, everyone has been an absolute blessing and a pleasure to talk with and be with, both in character and out of character. And those fears I had when I first started have really been pretty much unfounded about about both myself and my character. So I think that's what I would tell myself if I had that chance.
That's really cool. And, honestly, I think that if I had the chance, I'd probably do the same. I'm not going to lie. Well, hey, where are you calling me from, by the way?
Georgia, the sweet
Hey!
state.
Hey, I am the next state over.
Where are you, Florida?
Alabama.
Alabama. That's where I'm
Al-
from. I
Alabama.
was I was born in good old Alabama.
Oh, goodness. What part?
Let's see, Mobile.
Mobile. All right. Well, we were, I was born in Birmingham, I think.
Right.
I can't remember where I was born. But I was raised up for a little while. I was raised up in and Bagley, Dora, around that area, Dora, Alabama. That's pretty much where I grew up at.
I was raised in Georgia. My parents were living in Georgia when she was pregnant with me, and they
Hmm.
just happened to be up in Alabama visiting my dad's parents who live in
Uh,
Alabama. And we were in Alabama, and I decided that I like a month or two early decided I wanted to come on and see the world, and so they rushed her to the hospital at Mobile. But most of my family on my dad's side is located over in Excel,
Mm-hmm.
which is a little pretty small town there in Alabama.
I'm about
But
to say I've never heard it.
it's tiny. It's real tiny.
It
But
sounds so tiny.
my papa was actually one of the a big person in it. He built a lot of the school himself
Mm-hmm.
from scratch, and he was a preacher there. He was the principal there. He was I think he was a coach too. And so a lot of the people there in Excel, even if they don't know us personally, they kind of know our family name.
Right.
Yeah, he passed last year actually, little over a year now.
Hmm.
He passed up there, and they dedicated a one of the new field houses to him.
It's also nice to have another country boy on this channel.
Hell yeah, brother!
um,
Preach it, son.
it's really weird because people, when I tell them that I was born in the countryside and like down in Alabama and I was raised in New Orleans and stuff like that, they don't expect that because I try to carry myself differently when I'm role playing and stuff like that. So when the accent does finally come out one way or another, they're like, "Hold on. What did you just say?" And there are some words that I can't say without having the accent. Um like I every now and again the country idioms will come out and people
Yeah,
are just like, what?
my funniest. I never really thought about that. I have an accent and the way that I talk until I
Mm.
went up to Indianapolis, which
Mhm.
is Yankee territory.
Mhm.
With I was visiting with my grandparents for a little while, and
Mm-hmm.
one day there's a knock at the door, and I walk up to the door and I open it up, and there's this British man, and he's a college student selling books,
Right.
selling the college textbooks to help pay for his tuition. And he's like, good day. I can't do a British accent.
Right.
He was like, as I'm sure you can tell by my accent, I'm from Britain. I am selling books to pay for my tuition. Do you have a parent at home or a child of college age?
Mhm.
And like I said, it's like, well, you man, I really don't know. Let me go back there and fetch Granny for you right quick, and I'll take a quick look for you. And this man's eyes just widened. He just kind of looks at me, kind of stunned. He literally went, "I'm sorry." And I was like, I'll go fetch Grandma for you right quick." And I walked back inside, and she came back out, he looked so darn confused. Because my grandma and grandpa talked with a Yankee accent, and there was me.
That is funny. That's very funny. I enjoyed that very much. Thank you for that story, because that's gonna stay with me for a couple of days. All right, well, that's pretty much it. We're at an hour now. So thank you for coming on. Is there any last words that you would like to give to the listeners about roleplay?
I would tell them that if they haven't tried it yet, they really damn need to, because it is it can be a bit frightening when you start. There can be a learning curve, but at the end of the day, it's become one of my favorite things to do, and I've made some friendships here with everybody that I honestly think are going to last for a lifetime, and I look forward to future role playing with DC and with maybe in the future with people outside of the DC and other characters.